Thank you, Dr. Rochi. When it comes to rehabilitation, I think it is important to understand that what are the implications of losing the eye. It is more than just a medical complication. The impact is far-reaching on the social, personal, and the professional life of the patient. It's a tragic emotional event which has a very far-reaching implications. The person may always live in the constant fear of losing the other eye as well, and it affects all strata of the society. The magnitude of problem is huge. Looking at our population, even 3 to 5 per lakh is a huge number. And unfortunately, there is a lot of paucity of literature and lack of awareness about the options available to such patients. The goal of treatment is not just to give an artificial eye and get away. The whole idea is to help these patients lead a normal life without being discriminated from their because of their monocular status and abnormal appearance. Ideal rehabilitation program would include these 4 parts. First is train to use monocular vision to its full potential. I always refer this book to all my monocular patients. It's a beautiful book written by Frank Brady. He was a commercial pilot. When he lost one of his eyes in the accident, he not only learned to use monocular vision, he also made it possible in US for the one-eyed people to fly commercial planes. So that's the kind of recovery he has made after losing one eye. A very encouraging book for all my patients who are really depressed after losing their eyesight in one eye. Second is to deal with the psychological impact of losing one eyesight, and as I said, fear of losing the other. It's very critical that we protect the other eye, and all patients are strongly recommended to wear glasses which is shatterproof, that is either CR39 or polycarbonate, so that in case of any injury, those glasses protect the eye and patient can retain his vision. And of course, last and the most important is to restore the natural look, because without this, whatever you say and do, it doesn't carry much weight. So a restoration of natural look and ocular prosthesis. Before Second World War, it used to be mostly glass artificial eyes. After Second World War, PMMA was used to make ocular prosthesis in most of the labs. The basic difference between a custom-made artificial eye or ocular prosthesis and a ready-made eye, as you can see in this diagram, that the custom-made artificial eye sits snugly on the front surface of the socket without leaving any gap. Unfortunately, in case of stock eye, there is a gap between the back surface of the prosthesis and the front surface of the socket. This gap accumulates tear, which in turn gets infected and forms discharge, and patient always has to clean it regularly, and he or she is never comfortable. The tear dynamics with custom ocular prosthesis, which is fitted well, is such that tears flow in front of the prosthesis, and with every blink, it keeps cleaning itself. Therefore, we do not need to remove the prosthesis, and patient can continue wearing it for even months together without removing. The characteristics of ideal prosthesis, as we would all expect, that it should be comfortable to wear, it should be able to be worn continuously without frequent removal, there should be no discharge, looks of course should match to the other eye, it should maintain the lid position, contour and movement of the lid, and there should be no toxic effect, and of course there should be good motility of the prosthesis. What is more important in such cases that particularly dealing with young patients of microphthalmus and enophthalmus, the sooner we start, better it is. Why it is so? Because once we start giving prosthesis or conformer at early stage, it stimulates orbit development as well. If it is not done, then not only eye does not develop, along with the eye, there is no stimulus for the bony orbit to grow. And if bony orbit does not grow, you see that there is the entire, that half of the face does not grow. So a small thing like a small eye, microphthalmic eye, can lead to a facial hemiatrophy. This can be avoided if we start the treatment early and help bone to grow. In order to have a good prosthesis, there are certain prerequisites to be met. Only then prosthesis would be natural looking and comfortable. There should be adequate phonesis, both superior and inferior. Inferior phonics make sure that there is good retention, it does not fall off, whereas a deep superior phonics makes sure that lid movement is complete and there is no lag of thalamus when patient looks down or closes the eye. Optimal tear secretion is again critical. Patients who have had radiation exposure, they have dry sockets, and they cannot wear prosthesis comfortably. The volume augmentation is critical while we do enucleation or evisceration. Optimal implant must go in so as to replace the volume that is taken out, that is removed while removing the eyeball. Presence of orbital fat adds to the natural look. The orbital implant, if it is not well centered, can make the prosthesis retention or movement compromised. And of course, eye should be quiet. An inflamed socket keeps giving discharge. This is a small video to show how to meet those requisites. I hope I'll be able to play it. These basic things that we all are aware of, that while doing evisceration or enucleation, it starts from saving as much of conjunctiva as possible, because it's important to give them deep phonesis, both superior and inferior. There's some problem with the video. Yeah. So first we balloon the conjunctiva. This is important so that we can remove as much healthy conjunctiva and tenon as possible. Once we balloon it 360 degree, then we remove conjunctiva and tenon together. There are, although we suture it separately, but while removing, we can remove it together. So after ballooning, we are making a 360 degree cut all along and a few radial incision both on the 180 degree apart so that we can open it well. Tenon is separated from the underlying sclera. Once we mobilize this tenon, it is important that we should be able to bring it close while closing. So good mobilization is important. And then this corneal button is removed. While removing corneal button, it is important to remove all the epithelial tissue. If there is a remnant of epithelial tissue while removing corneal button, this can lead to retention cyst in future. So in the uveal tissue and the sclera, once we reach that plane, usually it is possible to remove the entire content without any problem. And it is also important to remove the entire content so as to prevent future theoretical risk of sympathetic ophthalmia. This empty scleral pocket is meticulously cleaned with absolute alcohol. Absolute alcohol is supposed to denature whatever the choroidal tissue is there, and it prevents the potential risk of sympathetic ophthalmia. A radial incision, 4 radial incisions are given in the sclera for two purposes. One is to accommodate a bigger implant, and second to effect a good closure. We also make an opening in the posterior along the able to put optimal size of orbital implant. Therefore, opening posterior makes sure that we can put optimal size of orbital implant. Use of Quadri make life very easy. Now the scleral shed is ready to remove the implant. Whatever bleeders are there has been taken care of. We held the 4 petals separately, put the orbital implant, and make sure that we are able to close the sclera without any tension. It is closed in two layers. First, the horizontal one, and on top of that, the vertical one. So it's kind of double protection against any exposure of orbital implant. 6-0 Vicryl is used to close the scleral flaps. It may be tempting to use a stronger suture like Prolene, but because Prolene does not dissolve, sometimes I have seen this Prolene that eventually leads to exposure. So it is preferable to use an absorbable suture and make sure that the scleral edges are well opposed without much tension. Even if we just pull together using force, sometimes it's likely to give way. So it is important that we mobilize the scleral flaps and it can be closed without tension. Now sclera has been closed in two layers, as I told. So, and then tenon and conjunctiva are closed in layer. It is important to close tenon very well because tenon is the only vascular tissue that brings the blood supply. It makes sure that there is no exposure in future. I think I'm running out of time. I'll skip the video.
Finish it up. अभी कितना रह गया? You have so many, or the session is till 1:55. We have about
no, just a couple of slides.
Okay, please go on.
Okay, so if optimal care is not taken, we can land up with following problems, and that makes the optimal prosthesis fitting difficult. Patient may land up with contracted socket, or in case of absence of implant, there is significant volume loss that cannot be compensated. Or if there's a implant that has rough, sharp edges, that can cause implant extrusion. Or sometimes implants with rough surface can cause exposure of the orbital implant. So all these indications call for a surgical reconstruction to make sure that the socket has optimal findings. In case of radiation exposed socket, we need to give frequent lubrication. Motility of prosthesis comes from the motility of the socket, and how efficient the motility is from socket to the prosthesis depends on the area of contact. Presence and type of a central orbital implant gives a better motility. Healthy extraocular muscles ensures that there is adequate movement. And as I explained earlier, presence and depth of phonesis are critical for good movement of the eye. Transmission depends on contact between prosthesis and socket. A pegging device can help movement better. Weight of the prosthesis also affects movement. A lighter prosthesis moves better. And surgical technique like myoconjunctival technique ensures better movement of the phonesis and prosthesis. Prosthesis may be associated with certain complications, mainly like allergic, because a foreign material is likely to attract deposits, and deposits in turn can cause a severe allergic reaction. To avoid this, prosthesis needs regular cleaning either with contact lens solution or once in a year polishing to make sure that the surface remains smooth. Ill-fitting prosthesis can actually cause chronic irritation, which in due course of time ends in a socket contraction. To conclude, as ophthalmologists, we play important role in the rehabilitation by providing optimal prerequisites for good outcome with prosthesis, forming a team with our ocularist, by ensuring the optimal vision in the remaining eye, and encouraging patient to lead a normal life. Thank you very much.